our edits to make it our own. So thank you, Rhonda. Today, I want to begin with, this is what we're going to be discussing today. I'm going to talk about the Toastmasters Promise. We will have Rhonda launch a poll at the time that we ask her. We're going to talk about volunteer and commitment. They are two words that are truly interchangeable when we speak about Toastmasters. And then we're going to cover the Toastmasters Promise again, because that's so important. I can hear everybody going, oh, the Toastmasters Promise. I hope it doesn't be an that you find it enlightening and enjoyable. So let's move on to the next slide. A Toastmasters Promise, that's where we want to begin and what it means, and to incorporate awareness for members. It's a promise to be a volunteer and a commitment to be a contributor. Are you aware that Toastmasters updated the promise and created a website to place the Toastmasters Promise? So when you go to this website, you're going to see all these words. And like we did on the application, we're just going to bypass it because there's just too many words to read. It feels like we're signing a legal agreement. Rhonda has graciously broken it down for us into 3 simple categories: a promise to participate, a promise to aid fellowship, and a promise to maintain club quality. A promise to participate. Well, Michelle, what does it mean to attend regularly, carefully preparing speeches, and fulfilling all assignments? What does that mean to you?
Are you really asking this question? It means I show up to the clubs, I fill the roles, and I give speeches.
Were you aware of this promise when you first joined Toastmasters?
Well, not when I first joined, but shortly thereafter.
How did you find out about it?
I was inducted into my club.
You had an induction ceremony? Wow, that's a great idea. I didn't know about the promise when I joined. My club didn't do induction ceremonies. As a matter of fact, the officers of the club said, we're not a cult. We're not doing that. Is this a cult?
It's on the application, Anne. If you read the application.
I probably never paid attention. I just signed it. I was worried about the money I was going to have to pay. I just signed the form. I wonder on this meeting, how many were fully aware of the Toastmasters Promise when you joined Toastmasters and what it meant? Can you raise your hands? Rhonda, can you let me know if anybody raises their hand? Were they fully aware of it? I know I wasn't. All right. Well, Michelle, could you name one way, other than the induction ceremony, of how we as officers can share this with our members and make them aware of the promise and what it means?
Other than the induction ceremony, first we should talk about the application when a member fills that application out. But some clubs actually read and recite the Toastmasters Promise at the beginning of their club meetings, which I find valuable.
Yeah, and the idea I like is I want to use this now that Rhonda did for us, breaking it down into 3 understandable, easily quick read sections, and maybe add it to the back of the agenda periodically for our meetings. Well, let's move on to the second part. I don't want to spend too much time on just to participate. We really have to get through this. I promise to aid fellowship. Wow, that's the second part of the promise. The way I read this is, as Toastmasters, we're in this together to support one another, to provide encouragement to one another. When I really thought about the promise, to aid fellowship for me meant that I had to make myself available to fellow members, and not just members in my club. If someone asked me for help, that meant I should be willing to help them. That's what we're all in this together. And What do you think, Michelle? What's your perspective?
The perspective of help and aiding and fellowship, I think that the promise is to help build trust with fellow members. It gets me excited to know that we're helping each other and that we're doing things like giving evaluations and promoting a positive, friendly environment. Who wants to show up to a meeting where everybody's grumpy?
I totally agree. And that's the part I love about Toastmasters, is how we help one another. I've personally experienced that. And it's such a wonderful feeling that when someone asks me for help, if they want help with writing a speech, it doesn't take me much time to help them write a speech or to answer a question. It doesn't take a whole lot of my time to do that. I really get engaged and I get excited about it. And I'm going to try to keep my excitement a little bit low tonight, because then it comes off like I'm shouting at people. And I really don't want to do that. That's one thing Toastmasters has taught me. But on the other hand, if I'm going to help them, then I need to know to get the resources, where to get the resources on the Toastmasters District 38 website and toastmasters.org. I feel as a member, not just as an officer, that it's my responsibility to know about the information and to go out there periodically and see what's been updated. Does everybody here know how to find the essential information you may need to help members on District 38 and Toastmasters International? If you do, just reply in the chat yes, so that Rhonda can see and she'll monitor the chat. Michelle, do you know? Do you do that? Do you go out periodically?
So the website? No, why would I do that? Of course I do. I go to all of our resources, not just Toastmasters International and District 38. I also go to Facebook and also to our Basecamp, because on Basecamp there's always new information to learn as well that we should know about to share with our members.
Basecamp. I thought that was a curse word with Toastmasters, with some Toastmasters anyway.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh. Oh, I guess they blocked that out. Where's Rhonda? Is she still here?
I'm still here, and I see a few yeses in the chat. Just a handful.
Terrific. That's good. Well, another aspect that we have here of fellowship is to treat members and guests with respect and courtesy. I'll tell you, from a personal perspective, I can find that to be very frustrating at times. And that's where Toastmasters has helped me immensely. It's very difficult for me to understand and to get along with different personalities. What I like to say is difficult personalities for me. They may not be difficult people, but for me, they are. And to be open to controversial speeches that they may want to do in a club. And how I have grown as a Toastmaster is I've learned to become more empathetic, more understanding, and more patient. When I first joined Toastmasters, if I came across that, I would just walk away from them. I wouldn't engage or interact with them. And that really didn't help me to grow as a Toastmaster, and it didn't help them. So now I engage with them. I try to do that positive, friendly environment. And so I engage with them. It's helped me to become a better version of myself. Michelle, do you think if members kept this promise in mind, be mindful of it? It's not something that we study, but I think we tend to forget about it. Do you think our attitudes towards fellow Toastmasters might improve? Especially those difficult ones?
Absolutely. I think that it does help our attitudes towards each other when we put these promises into action and we stand by them. If you're going by these first promises where you're doing your assignments, part of the pathways is to learn emotional intelligence. That was one of my favorite lessons, by the way, emotional intelligence. We also learn how to interact with each other in a more positive way through giving speeches and giving evaluations. There are lots of ways that we can learn to be better as a person and as a colleague. And speaking of pathways, because we brought that up just a few moments ago, let's talk about how we maintain club quality. Do we maintain that by doing our speeches and working on projects and pathways? Well, of course we do. It's not just about that, it's about engagement.
Speaking of pathways, why do I have to use Basecamp and use the pathway projects to give a speech? It's so confusing, all those details on the website and the forms, and you have to click from screen to screen. How about if I just want to give a speech? Just develop my own topic and just give my speech. Why do I have to do a pathways project?
And you just can't get up and give a speech. If we did that, we'd talk forever. And who knows what we'd say. We would ramble on for days. It's about learning the proper body language. It's about learning our vocal variety. It's about how
What's that?
Right. It's also about those pauses. Take a deep breath and pause. It's also how we connect with the audience and those kinds of things that we don't do in everyday speech.
Well, how does that maintain club quality by doing that? That seems like a personal quality thing rather than a club.
It's part of the commitment that we're learning about. We're learning how to live within the guidelines and rules. And yes, there are guidelines and rules that we need to follow. Did you know that clubs have bylaws?
No, what do you mean?
Not everybody reads those bylaws, but there are bylaws that tell us about how we vote for our officers. Did you know that I just can't take over a club and decide that I'm in charge of the entire club? It's up to all of our members. There are methods to what we do, and they're outlined in those bylaws. The bylaws help us to know what our duties are. They explain what our officers do, and there's more. It's about the cultures in our club. Every club's a little bit different. There are different things that you should do under those unspoken rules. That's what I'm going to call them, as unspoken rules.
I don't know what you want for dinner. I can get this far.
I want dinner too, whoever that was. And
Right.
And they lead to our ethical standards. That's the next thing that we're probably going to start talking about is ethics.
What type of ethical standards are we talking about here?
Be nice, Anne, and treat members with respect. That includes me. That's ethical.
No way.
Make sure I'm ethical when I deliver my speeches. If I'm supposed to quote a source, I do it. And if I'm not doing it, somebody in my club should raise their hand and ask, can you recite a source? We should always provide the sources for things that we're quoting as fact. I consider that very seriously.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for that conversation. I think it's time to ask Rhonda to launch that poll, asking our fellow Toastmasters and club officers about what their clubs do and do not do for new members. What do you think? There we go. There's your poll. If you could just take a minute to answer it, it's real quick. It's yes or no. Just check on it and it'll be perfect. I think you can say yes or no, right?
You can vote for, the first question is a multi-select. So you can select as many options that your clubs participate in. And the next two questions are yes or no. I do have a fourth question separately, and I'll launch that after this one concludes.
Okay, thank you so much. While you're doing that, we're going to move on if that's okay. I think this is a great time for Michelle to talk about her section of the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing so she can talk about volunteer. Michelle?
Well, sure, you're going to make me share my screen now.
Yep.
Let's see how this goes. Can you see my slide?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
You may want to make it bigger. You know,
Bigger?
yes, that there. There we
Yeah.
go.
It's not in presentation mode. It doesn't appear to be.
She's
I'm
using the
Yeah, I'm using the that's why
Share
we
one
actually
time.
just
Okay.
stayed in yours.
go ahead, Michelle.
I'm trying to make it bigger for everybody. I have to go to the browser and then go to present view, right? How come this is not working for me? This is,
Michelle, it's in your lower right-hand corner. It's before the slider.
my lower right hand corner before the slider.
Mhm. To the right.
There, got it. There, that's better, right?
There you go.
Everybody cheer for Michelle because I got it
Woohoo!
to a
Michelle.
team.
Michelle,
What-
before you launch into your section, I just wanted to remind people to please submit the poll. We have 0 participation right now, which means no one has submitted. You may have marked them off, but until you submit, I won't see the results. We won't see the results.
I
Ooh,
don't see the poll anymore, and I submitted.
that's
I'm
right.
seeing the results, Rhonda.
Oh, are you? Okay, I don't.
Yeah, I'm seeing 4, 15, 6, 11 out of 17. Like, not everybody's answered, but
Okay.
Well, we're giving away the secrets already.
We are,
All
okay.
right, well,
Please
I'm gonna
proceed.
go ahead and
And
Go
I will I will end the poll in maybe 2 minutes or so that we can be ensured to get the results.
all right, super.
Okay, thank you.
Volunteer, that's a big word, especially when it comes to Toastmasters. We are a volunteer supported organization. If it wasn't for volunteers, this organization couldn't exist. I'd like to start off with a few definitions, and we're going to hope that my buttons work. Volunteer, of course, it's a noun, and there are a lot of similar words here. It's about giving, and it's about helping others. It's about donating your time. It's somebody who gives up their time willingly, freely, without thinking about it, without having to be pulled into doing it. We don't want to yank people into doing this role. A volunteer is somebody who likes to do things to help other people. And that's part of being a Toastmaster. We help our fellow Toastmasters. You heard that in the promise, right? When we were talking about the promise, it's about being a volunteer because it's important. We're supposed to respect and we're supposed to help. We're supposed to show up to meetings. Did you know showing up to meeting is being a volunteer? If you don't show up to meetings and fill roles, how can we have a meeting? It's all about you giving your time and volunteering. Of course, there's another way to look at being a volunteer, and that's to volunteer. Volunteer as a verb, and that's offering to do something that you wouldn't get paid for. You don't even have to do it. You just do it because it brings you joy. It helps other people. And it's not because your mom's smacking you on the bottom, making you go to Toastmasters meetings. No, it's because you want to be there. It's because you're helping each other make the meetings work. How can I give a speech at a meeting if you're not there to evaluate me or to give me to do the timing or to tell me how many times I say and ah? If I didn't have Tom Malkoch and Anthony Garcia in my meetings, I would be lost. I'd be just standing out there rambling all night long and nobody would be listening to me, would they? We learn through the help of volunteers, and Toastmasters may not be a charitable organization, something like the Kiwanis or the Red Cross, but it is a nonprofit organization. And that means that we rely on your help. We rely on you to do things to keep us going. We're focused on helping each other become the best that we can be. And
Come on, Michelle. The best that we can be. Oh, what a corny phrase.
the Army used it, right? That is part of why we become Toastmasters. Many people join because they want to improve their speaking. They want to get out of that nervous shell. They want to get beyond that stress, those butterflies that tie us up. They want to learn how to argue their points. Maybe they want to sound more logical and impressive in their speech.
Michelle, you have a sentence here that says Toastmasters volunteer to support their clubs by participating in meeting roles. Even though they talk about meeting roles and things like that, when I joined Toastmasters, I joined because of what it was in for me to do my speeches. I really didn't like signing up for meeting roles. How am I supporting my clubs by doing that, by taking on additional meeting roles?
These are great questions, Anne, and I would like to ask you a few questions instead. How do you get the evaluation for your speech if there isn't a speech evaluator? How do you learn about filler words if somebody doesn't volunteer to listen for those things? How do you learn to speak within the time of an agenda if somebody doesn't time you? As you can see, I've got this great slide up here with all of the words that were on the other two slides, the definitions. I just wanted to leave this up here for a moment for people to look at.
I've sort of gathered from everything you've been talking about that when I joined Toastmasters, I really did not understand the connection between volunteer and commitment as a member. I'm so glad you clarified it. It's helped me to realize that I need to look at myself as a volunteer, that I need to make a commitment, not only make a commitment to volunteer in my club. Is this part of the issue with my club keeping members because we don't understand the connection?
Volunteer organizations need members to carry out their mission. The mission of Toastmasters is to help us become more effective communicators and leaders. It also means that we are required to adhere to some timelines and deadlines. We didn't talk about that before. Speaking of timelines and deadlines, did you know that the District 38 website had a calendar on it with all of our timelines and deadlines? There's also a list of important dates. I like that list of important dates so much better than the calendar because I can go to one page and I can see all of the times and dates of important things that are happening in the district. It can be something as much as when my dues need to be paid or when club officer training happens. It's also about the speech contest, which we're right in the middle of now.
It's important to visit the District 38 website. I only go to Toastmasters.org.
The District 38 website has so much information on it. You just go to the homepage, everything that's currently happening. Maybe you want to know, how do I get some district dollars? There's a way to find that out if you go to the homepage. You can also see that there are other important items there like pathways information. Paul Carone, he holds these pathways workshops. Mary Ann Ferraro holds workshops on how to deal with your budgets and how to work with, and now I can't think of what that program. Concur. That's a bad word too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But it is absolutely important to keep track of those things. And part of setting goals requires us to put a date on those, even personally. When we join a club, I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now because I want to talk to everybody without this in the way. It's important. So when you go to a club and say, I want to become a better speaker, what's the first thing you should do? You should set some goals. And those goals are going to help you achieve greatness. And yes, that's a little hokey, but it's going to help you get to where you want to go. And you should set some deadlines for those milestones. I want to give my first speech on what date? If I put it on the calendar, if I put it on an agenda already some date in the future, I know that I'm tied to that, and I'm more likely to give that speech on that date if it's already there. If I didn't have these timelines, if I didn't have these deadlines, it would just be chaos, and we don't want chaos in our lives. We want things to run smoothly. If you said, hey, Michelle, we're going to have our meetings on the first and third Tuesday of every month, and I said, whatever, Ann, I don't care. I'm just going to show up whenever I want for my meetings. Then Ann shows up on the first and third Tuesday. I show up on the first and third Wednesday. Rhonda might show up every Sunday. I don't know when everybody's going to show up, but how are we going to hold a meeting if we're not adhering to the timelines? We just don't want that kind of chaos.
So as officers, we should help our members understand the importance of getting their speeches to the Vice President of Education on time so that we can set our agenda, to get members to sign up for roles on time if we can, to try to have more of a deadline for that, for when the meeting starts. We're not running around as officers at the last minute trying to fill roles. We can help everybody staying on time to start the meeting and end it on time, be respectful, by having all that completed ahead of time.
That's right. It's all about adulting, isn't it? We want to be responsible, and you have a responsibility to yourself. The responsibility to yourself is a promise that you made when you became a Toastmaster.
But I never said it. So how did I make a promise? I never said a thing. I didn't swear to nothing.
You signed that application, and it was
I can't have reader's remorse.
There are no lemon laws in Toastmasters. You can't always rely on someone else to do everything. There are some clubs where the officers are filling those leadership roles year after year after year. It's exhausting. They're exhausted. They lose creativity. They lose their ability to think outside of the box and to bring their best to the table. It's important that you volunteer, Ann.
Why do they keep following up to be officers if they're going to burn out? That doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, that's the problem right there. You're not volunteering. If you were volunteering,
I'm petrified of taking an officer role. Really? I don't want to go and give up my time. My free time's my own at home. If I can't do it during working hours, I don't want anything to do with it.
Why in the world did you become a Toastmaster, Ann?
I have no idea now.
Oh, right. You're not just helping yourself, you're helping others. And that's my next point. If there's a lack of commitment, it's going to negatively impact your club. Like I said about the deadlines and the timelines, and if everybody just did whatever it was that they wanted to do, they didn't fill the roles. When would you give a speech? When would somebody help you give a speech? If everybody's doing what they want instead of coming together as a group, as a team, and running the meetings, how can we get the most out of those educational programs that we call pathways?
Gare convinced me that I need to reach out to the president of my club in Washington's Crossing, Kathy Chisholm, and volunteer for more roles on a regular basis, I guess. You are enlightening me, Michelle, so I should thank you for that.
Well, I'm glad that I'm enlightening you, that I'm convincing you. I'm also glad that you're on board and being realistic about your availability.
I don't have kids, but I have a very busy nightlife. Are you aware that I have to take care of my house? Then there's the grocery shopping. I'm going to school for my master's degree. And on top of that, I'm reading all this stuff in the new year about dedicating some time for yourself for downtime. How am I supposed to be an officer, or for that matter, to sign up for speech? That takes an awful lot of time. I just don't have time for it. I really don't.
I like that argument. Do you know why I like that argument?
Mm-mm.
It's because we're a team. We work together to get the job done, whatever that job is. If it's to run a meeting, we work together. If you have an exam coming up or a surgery or a vacation, you're going to talk to the other people in your club and you're going to ask them to fill some of the roles and do some of those tasks that you promised that you were going to do. There's something called delegating. Have you heard that before?
I have a question. Are they really going to help me if I ask them and not tell me they don't have time either? Go see somebody else.
That's the way it's supposed to work. I will tell you that unless for some reason I'm dead, I'm here for you. And I know that many Toastmasters and probably many of the Toastmasters that are in this meeting feel the same way. We are going to help you if you ask for help. See, Dave Schlegel, he says that he's going to help you. He's there.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I'm going to take him up on that. I need lots of help.
To keep the commitment, you should understand what's expected in any role that you take on, whether it's being the timer at your club or it's being the president of your club. You should understand that what role you take on is all about understanding the role. There are lots of resources on Toastmasters International. We also want to be more specific about our current skills when we become a Toastmaster. We want to think about how we like to grow in the roles that we're taking on. If I'm timing somebody, I'm timing you, Anne. If I'm timing somebody, actually, I think it's Susan timing us.
We went over it before.
Oh, I'm sure we went over. If I'm timing somebody, I don't know how much of that I need help with. Timing could be just something I take on just because I think it's easy. But I actually get something out of being timing. Maybe it's about paying attention more to other people. When you say squirrel, do I turn and look in the other direction? Yeah, you do know me, don't you? I need more practice as a timer or a speech evaluator or the counter, the grammarian. Grammarian's a tough role, isn't it? When I give an evaluation, I am learning something. If I work as a manager and I'm giving a performance review, I need to learn how to be positive or people are just going to stop listening to me.
I don't work. I'm retired. I don't need to worry about any of that. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to evaluate anybody. But I do have great nieces and nephews.
Yeah, they can definitely need you some talking to because I've been around your nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews, I should say. They need a little guidance. You don't want to be overly critical with anybody. You want to learn how to take things that are maybe negative in some light, but turn it into a positive. We want to
Is that
focus
why
on
we as officers have to show that to members? Are we responsible for that?
for being positive.
Yeah, to show members how to, you know, how to be more positive in their evaluations. Is that our responsibility?
Of course, we are examples to the rest of our club. That's why we give speeches. That's why we fill roles. That's why we show up to meetings. when my boss tells me that I'm doing things wrong, I feel pretty bad about it. But Toastmasters has taught me to take things with a grain of salt. When somebody is giving me an evaluation, I learn from that and I try to adjust. How do you feel when somebody critiques you, Anne?
Well, initially, I didn't like it. I took it as negative. But moving into an officer role and being around fellow officers, you know, they took the time to explain to me what it really meant, and that their roles of officers were to make sure that members did give the evaluations with, I guess, positivity or kindness. And once that was explained to me, then I understood that the person giving me the evaluation wasn't really being critical. I was probably just terrible in the beginning and needed some really good advice. So I really appreciated that. Wow, that volunteering is a big commitment, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And you need to be honest with yourself when you're volunteering. Ask yourself why you want to be a Toastmaster. Why do you want to fill a role at a meeting? I keep going back to the role of timer because timer is one of those jobs that's usually the first one everyone wants to fill. But even as timer, you can take the time to do a table topic. You can explain a role. You can speak up and get something out of speaking in explaining the job role to your fellow Toastmasters. You have to think about how to express yourself when you describe the role or anything else that you do in life. And another thing is that you have to be present as a volunteer. That's one of the most important parts about being a volunteer. You have to be in the game. It's not about signing on that dotted line on our application and then magically you have all this knowledge and experience. It's about being involved. It's about dedicating yourself to everyone in your club. It's about being part of the club and being present when you're at the meetings, being involved in learning and listening to other people. One of my favorite things is to watch other people give speeches, and I learned something by evaluating other speeches. I think it helps me give a more effective speech. If you fill the roles, if you show up, if you volunteer, you're going to get something out of it. You're not just giving, you're also getting. And there are studies on this that say that you are going to feel healthier and you're going to grow. So you are also getting something out of it. Now, this time, I think Anne has something to say about that poll that we launched, the one that we were giving all the secrets away on earlier. Anne?
Don't we have a song to go with it, Michelle?
Oh, yeah. Help me, Rhonda.
Miranda, help
me,
Miranda. We need a different voice here. He has to give us the results.
That's too funny. And I did share the results with you. I can share the screen if you like.
Yes, please do.
Okay, let me just pull it up. My apologies.
That's okay.
Should have had this teed up for us. But I will say that we had some additional poll questions that were not included in the first one. So if you would like to see those two, we can launch that poll as well. But
yes,
in the
that would
meantime,
be great.
Okay, let me give you the poll results.
Okay.
This is to the first one. My club does the following. And check all that applies.
Pretty good. I like the fact that they give a pin. 17%. All right. So we have some work to do with that then. And I hope this training engages or inspires you, because that's going to go into my part of the commitment presentation of this. And I also believe it's a way we can retain members by being fully engaged with them and making them feel welcomed in our club. But I thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
And then
here's page 2 of the poll results. So the other
wow.
2 questions, the script for the new member induction and the PowerPoint.
Yes.
There's a lot of
See,
no's.
that's why I go out to the Toastmasters.org website, or I'll even Google the information, and that particular web page will show up for me in the Google search. And if anybody's interested in those links, we can have, I think Rhonda may have them, or Young May has them, and they
We'll
can
share
drop
those.
them and they can share them. Thank you so much, Rhonda.
No problem. Would you like to share the poll, the last poll?
Yes,
There's
please.
just 5 quick questions that should go very quickly. So let me launch that. And everyone should see that now.
Yep. Oh, I love these questions. Thank you, Rhonda.
No
And while
problem.
she's launching that, and everybody, I hope everybody participates and answers the poll. I'll give you about a minute timer. May I have a minute on the clock, and then I will share my slides, because my slide will take over the screen and I don't want to do that.
We have to make sure we drop some of those links into the chat.
Certainly.
Especially I'm really surprised to see that the induction script is not something that people are even aware of.
And that leads to having new members engage. We need to engage them in the very beginning. It's like you're the new kid on the block. Remember when you were a kid and you might have moved into a new neighborhood, and all the kids came out to see who this new kid was on the block, and they made you feel so welcome. And eventually the ones that liked you still hung around with you and came to see you. Well, that's like Toastmasters. I've never met a Toastmaster I did not like. I love Toastmasters. I truly love it. Thank you, Susan. So think of it that way. They're the new kid on the block. Most of them don't know anybody unless you're a corporate club. Make them feel like that new kid on the block. Make them feel warm and fuzzy. They're going to want to stay and come back. It's all about that emotional connection with our members. I'm going to stop talking and share my screen and move on to my portion of this. And this is to let, we are talking about officers, and I realize it may seem like we've gone off the beaten track here, but we are all volunteers in Toastmasters. We're members first, and we are all essential pieces that make our clubs whole, every one of us. And we want our members to realize that without them, we're not whole. And this puzzle shows it. We lose a member, we're broken, are we not? That's the way I feel when I lose a member. I feel like my club is broken. I'm going to move on to the definitions for commitment. And commitment, man, that's a big word for us, for Toastmasters, just like volunteerism. Michelle, don't you agree?
It really is a big word. We have to be dedicated to our club.
We use that word club quite frequently when we're referring to our members. I think it's an abstract term, and it really does not give a sense of a connection to our members. Because in Toastmasters, it's a commitment to our fellow Toastmasters, not to our club, but it's to our fellow Toastmasters. And when we say Toastmasters or fellow members, that makes it broader than the club. It makes us think about the district leaders, because often, initially, I never thought about the district leaders and what they did for us or anything. It was just my club, club, club. And I learned later that it wasn't just about me being in the club. So it's important that we all understand that it's just not a commitment to our club. We are devoted to one another. That's what we should be. And these synonyms are interchangeable with the word commitment. And here's the second definition. It says impelled. That's what we are. We're emotionally impelled to help one another, to do our speeches. For me, I do feel emotionally impelled to Toastmasters. And anybody that knows me knows that. I feel impelled, I feel committed to do speeches. And to level up, because in Pathways, there's 5 levels, and within each level, there's different projects. Again, we're going back to the projects, but as officers, we need to convey that to our members, that it's part of their commitment to one another, to us as clubs, to the district, to level up. Each time a member completes a level, the club gets a point for the Distinguished Club Program. And some members say, well, I don't really care about the Distinguished Club Program. But you should care about yourself. As a result of you leveling up and being committed to your growth and completing that, a byproduct as that comes out and shows that you are committed to your club. And when the club gains points, the district gains points. And I think maybe as officers, we need to do a better job of explaining this whole picture of the members are the most important, but it's a give and take relationship. Wouldn't you agree, Michelle?
I do. And all this talk of leveling up makes me think of video games. I'm thinking of Mario collecting all those coins, and those coins can equal our speeches. We keep collecting speeches until we get to the next level, and that's leveling up. Why can't it be fun? And I am really stuck on the idea of how this is so similar to other things I enjoy in life. It is fun to give these speeches. And
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Leveling up is an awesome challenge that Paula Ticci, our district director, and she didn't make a big deal of it because that's not her style. She just put it in the newsletter for members because she didn't want it to be a competition, because she doesn't like competition. But it was a way to encourage members to keep going on their paths and their levels and to complete a project and to level up. Do you know that the winners, and it's every month, the winners are posted on the District 38 homepage every month?
Website? Really?
Yes, District 38 website on the right-hand side. The club gets recognition, the division gets recognition, and it's based on the percentage of members. And that's so that all clubs in the district have an opportunity to win. We all know Princeton is the biggest club in the district, and there's other clubs that have many members. So Paula wanted to base it on the percentage of members so that clubs who have a smaller base also have an opportunity to come out on top. And at the end of the year, she's trying to decide what's going to happen, what she's going to do. But that leveling up is great. I know I've bought into it hook, line, and sinker. There's that, I hope no one's counting my O's. I think I've said a few of them right here. But she doesn't want you to stop there. Keep progressing. Keep progressing in your path. It's like when you were a baby. We all had to learn how to crawl first, right? And it gives you a sense of accomplishment. And then your next step is to attempt to walk. And once you take those first steps, even as a baby, you feel freedom. It's like saying to Mom and Dad, watch out. Here I go. What can I get into? It's discovering your own abilities. It's the same in Pathways. I felt great the first time I finished my level 1, and I earned an educational point for my club. It's essential that we level up because that's how we improve.
And I am not really a competitive person. I think leveling up is just showing off.
It's not supposed to be competitive. It's not being competitive. If anybody knows Paula, she is the least competitive of any Toastmaster I know. And I think leveling up for me, I learned from each of my projects. It motivates me to do the next speech. And when I level up, it gives me the energy, the excitement. Oh my God, let me take a look at the next projects. And then I feel a little down because some of them are challenging, I will tell you. And I have to delay in starting them. But learning's not supposed to be easy all the time. If I knew it all, why would I be in Toastmasters? Why would I even bother with Pathways?
Well, I know it all. You can say that you don't know it all, but I know everything.
No, we don't. That's why we have to do these projects. And that's why as officers, we need to emphasize with our members to keep them focused on their past, to remind them to be in communication with them. That's part of our responsibilities, part of our commitment, part of our volunteer commitment. You know, ask them, let them know that giving a speech without going to base camp to retrieve the information that you need to learn, they're not going to grow. I know members that just give speeches and don't even work in base camp. Base camp has educational material. Some people are used to the old manual. Well, it is a manual. Just download the manual in a PDF. And if you need to print it out, print it out. There's a manual. I always read those manuals before I do my project. I'm always learning something from doing them. And I think we as officers need to encourage our members to do that so that they make the commitment to volunteer to deliver well-delivered speeches, because isn't that part of our promise?
I don't have the time to prepare. Why should I give a well-delivered speech when I can just wing it?
You got me there. I do not wing it. If you're good at it, my hat is off to you. I know I have to prepare. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now we're on to, I've talked about the second definition, and I really want to move into some of this discussion about commitment. So I'm going to stop sharing my sign. This is a word cloud. And these are all the different synonyms that we can use in talking to our members. So we're not just drilling that word commitment. Talk to them about how they feel the responsibility to the club or to themselves, and how committed they are to their own personal growth and how we can help them. But I want to talk to the faces rather than to the slides, if I may, for this part of it. Michelle, in talking about commitments, I always like to bring in other topics. So in this case, I'm going to ask you, do you have children?
I have children, but I don't have any emotional attachment to them. I hate my children.
I hate my children too, but there's still an emotional attachment, isn't there? Whether we love or hate them, there's an emotional attachment.
There is an emotion of some sort.
It's the same with Toastmasters. It's an emotional attachment. Well, for me, it is. If you love it, if you love it like I do, you are going to feel impelled to act.
Impaled? I'm going to have to put my head on a stake?
No, the word is impelled. It means the urge, the official definition. So means the urge to do something. Now you know why I said it was the official. For me, it means to propel forward or to have a sense of obligation to act. And that's what commitment is. That's why we commit as officers, and that's what we want to try and express to our members. If we stay engaged with our members, we're not going to lose them like we have. And I think that's the main thing, the communication with our members, and that's part of our commitment. We get busy ourselves, but we have to remember that it's always about the member, and we need to stay connected to them. It's, for example, the commitment to the Pathways Educational Program. When we all do that, when we all participate and give speeches, it creates that safe environment for us to improve. And as leaders of the club, as officers of the club, we should be the first ones to give up and give a speech, to show other members it really isn't that difficult, and to open ourselves to be evaluated. Because we know, and especially DTMs, because we know what DTM stands for, right? Don't time me. Don't time me. I can speak forever. So as leaders, we need to do that. And if you are committed, you're going to feel impelled. Believe it or not, your duty as a member is to step up and volunteer. And eventually, don't take a heart attack, to take that officer role. Oh my God. You have to ask them, you have to reach out to them, because every role in the club is crucial to the success of the club. Commitment and volunteerism and Toastmasters. You can't have one without the other. Volunteer and commitment. And that means being engaged with your members, as I said. But don't forget about the district leaders. Commitment is about helping and assisting. We have a district conference coming up in April, and Rhonda, our program quality director, is in charge of it. She needs help to run that. She would be so happy to hear from you if you would send her an email and say, I'll do whatever I can. And it doesn't have to be a big part. Team up with someone to help her with the conference. And the district contest, speech contest is coming up. They're going to need judges and ballot counters. We know what goes on with a contest. That's part of her job too. Email her, let her know you'll help with that. And that's what it is. It's not just about serving your club. It's about serving all Toastmasters together. So let her know. We heard a long time ago from a politician, I think it was Hillary Clinton, that said it takes a village to raise children. She wrote a book or something about that. But you know, it takes more than a village to have a successful Toastmasters club, a successful district. It takes all of us volunteering and helping one another and assisting one another and reaching our hands out to make it a success. Commitment and volunteering is very important to our promise and to us as members.
Thanks, Ann. That's a great clarification.
I'm glad I was able to clear it up for you, and I hope the people on this call were able to get motivated by that. The next point I want to cover, however, and I'm going to bring my slides up, is to talk about our leaders and
Leader.
barriers.
I don't
I
want
know.
to be leader.
Whether you know it or not, in Toastmasters, you develop as a leader. You develop as a leader.
I thought this was just a speaking organization.
No, it's much more than that. Much more than that. You know, when I joined, I was far from a leader. I was a rebel with a cause. I could find anything negative I wanted to. I could find something wrong. However, after being a member for a while, I began to see what it took to be a successful Toastmaster. And that's because I'm a member of a club that's been President's Distinguished for 22 years going. I saw firsthand the commitment from the officers and the members on what it took to help that club to succeed and to get members to sign up. It's the leaders of the club officers, that keep the clubs going. I've seen that too in struggling clubs. They keep it going because if they don't keep their commitment and volunteer, the club sinks. It just sinks. It's the members that work with it's the leaders that work with the members and reach out to them and do that one-on-one with them to keep the club going. And that's what's really important, is the interaction. And that's why it's important to be a leader and to sign up for the roles. They help you overcome your fears. We've talked a lot about that, and I have some things here, but I think I'm going to just skip over, and I want to get right to the barriers, the perceived barriers that we were talking about that we see. And they are perceived barriers because for some people, they're real. They have time commitments, a lack of skill. They feel like they're too new to the organization to be able to contribute. They are the barriers, and we need to look at these realistically. We as officers also have them sometimes, or we feel we have them. But I want us to look at solutions. When it comes to time commitment, maybe we just need to be a little bit more flexible. That baseball game that our son is playing in, or the track meet that your daughter may be in, such as me, I wasn't able to make every one of them, and they seem to be okay today. They survived me not getting to every game. It's making flexible. And if I'm a Toastmaster, it's about me too. And my family needs to understand I'm investing in me. It's about my personal growth. They actually benefit benefited from me being in Toastmasters because I'm a much nicer parent now, they tell me. You know, I can communicate with them better. And if you feel you have a lack of skill, well, it's like Michelle said in the beginning. Let's teach our members how to reach out. You're not going to be giving everything. Let our members know we're available for them. We're willing to train them. We're willing to help them through different things. We're willing to support them. As you see with officer training here, the district's willing to support you and help you and give you different ideas to help your club better. And if they're too new to the organization, suggest attending meetings regularly. By coming in the beginning to as many meetings as you can, you will no longer feel like the new kid on the block. You may even find you've made some new friends and that you like them. And the biggest surprise to you may be they like you. And that's what's great about Toastmasters. You find that camaraderie. The next thing on perceived barriers is the lack of knowledge of available roles, work-life balance, and what's in it for me. Solutions for that: regularly communicate with your vice president of education or even your president to find out what roles are available and what you can do to find out. They will show you the resources. I like to refer to it as life balance, not work life. It's a life balance. We have to prioritize Toastmasters for ourselves. We have to fit that into our time schedule. We have to plan it. This is about our development. And we have, if it's important to us, we'll prioritize it. What's in it for me? Reading the Toastmasters Promise and talking to officers. You'll become clearer on what the personal value is to you. And I truly believe that we as officers, if we help members to understand that as we peel these barriers away one by one, we will find time for Toastmasters, because that's what I had to do. I had my own barriers and I just tackled them one by one and I peeled them away one by one. And once I peeled one away and I was able to get past that, then I worked on the next one. I set up a plan to do it because Toastmasters was that important to me. Oops, we didn't do that. I wanted to get a screenshot of everybody here because this is for you. We want to thank you for showing up today, by showing your commitment and by showing your leadership and your volunteerism to Toastmasters and to the district, because you are to be applauded because you gave up a lot of your time today. It's an hour and a half and we realize that. And we appreciate you for doing that. Michelle, let's give them a round of applause because they are what make District 38 run, our club officers. And we really appreciate you. And then we want to move on to leaders for the commitment. What's happening here? I pulled up the participants. All right. We as leaders, we also have to become more flexible. We need to specify, and for our members, we need to be specific about the type of activity, the times required, what kind of effort it's going to take. And we need to be very communicative with our members and with one another. These are our issues, so to speak, our barriers. And we need to address issues immediately with any member or any officer. Don't let it ride. Settle it, because differences will come up. We want to keep that cohesiveness in our clubs. And be mindful, we need to align not only our task, but our member task with their skill set and interests. And how do you know that? By communicating with them on a regular basis and getting to know your members. Offer your members training and support. Most importantly is to recognize your members. We are all volunteers. To recognize them, let them know they're volunteers. Thank them, put it on the website. My Lower Bucks Toastmasters Club puts it on Facebook, recognizing members, and it's having a positive impact. And show members that they're volunteers, and part of their responsibility is to recruit more volunteers. And leverage your new members by introducing them into more and more roles slowly. Maybe after a year, maybe they'll step up and take an officer role and avoid burnout. And if everybody would put their phones on, because we're going to end with the Toastmasters Pledge. And we're going to read it together. And it may sound awkward at first, but I really would like everyone to turn their microphones on and have us all say this together, because we're in this together. So will you do that for me? I don't see people turning their phones on, their mics on, please. And Rhonda, if you would let me know when you see majority of people have their
They
microphones
do.
on. All right.
Just about everyone does.
All right. So I'll start it and I'm going to go slowly, and please recite it with me. I promise to participate by
Participate.
attending regularly,
Attending regularly,
fulfilling all assignments.
fulfilling all assignments.
I promise to aid fellowship by
Promise to aid by providing
evaluations,
evaluation,
promoting a positive
environment,
environment
As an
officer,
meeting members and guests with respect, courtesy.
and courtesy.
I promise to maintain club
Promise to
quality
maintain
by
quality
yes,
following guidelines, rules,
rules,
serving ethical standards.
Thank you. And I know it may sounded funny on Zoom, but I thought it was important that we all said it, because I'm not sure if we all have ever said it. And my message to you is I encourage you to include that. Rhonda will probably be posting the slides on the website. I encourage you to go out there and get that breakdown, that very simple breakdown, and use that in your clubs. And I think that will help with members' willingness to be engaged in that, because it's not a long oath. It's very simple and it's very clear as to what we are committing as Toastmasters. And no, it's not a cult. It's important that as members, all members, that we are aware. And I will tell you, doing this presentation, preparing for it, I just, as a Toastmaster and as an officer and as a district leader, I just went and did what I did because I loved Toastmaster. I never thought of it in terms of volunteer and commitment. Just never did. I just automatically did it. But for some of us, we really need to think about it that way. And it's made me realize that there are some things I didn't really volunteer for that maybe I should have. And I need to really be more open-minded that I am a volunteer in this organization. And I'm a volunteer to my fellow members. And if we can convey that to our members, I think that will help us maintain our members. What do you think, Michelle?
And I think that I completely agree with you, but Young May let us know that the other half of the poll is available if we want to speak to that point.
Oh, yes, please. Fantastic.
I don't know how to put that up.
Young May could show it maybe, if she has it.
I don't have that. Maybe
Okay,
Rhonda
someone's
has it.
showing it.
Rhonda, yay, we're going to sing that song over and over again in our heads.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. See, I would have never thought to conduct an exit interview. That's a very good point, Rhonda, so we can find out.
We did talk about that when we were preparing.
Yes, we did. And it's like a job. But yeah, find out why they're leaving us. Maybe we need to improve something as officers, or we need to improve something in our clubs. Excellent.
Well,
There's one more.
understanding the value that each member has in the club is important. And I think we need to ask those questions at the beginning when they first join, but we need to ask repeatedly on either an annual basis or every 6 months. We need to stop and ask our members where their values lie in Toastmasters so that we can continue to meet those needs as club officers, and
Yeah,
also help them
Go ahead.
overcome those perceived barriers.
Yeah. Does your club promote the distinguished program? I recommend you do. It's not a competition. Your members could become stagnant because they're not being recognized, because they're not leveling up. That level up challenge I love. And I think that's a way to help engage members with pathways. I think it's important. And that brings back to the commitment, helping our members understand the commitment. The Distinguished Club program is important because if we start, I would love to change the terminology from club to members. Does your members promote the Distinguished Members program? Because basically that's what it is. Members are completing levels, and they don't have to be a distinguished Toastmaster and go through. It's a lot of work. I am a distinguished Toastmaster, but they can be distinguished in their own right by completing these levels. It's not easy once you get up to level 3, 4, and 5. It's a challenge. And that could be their own distinguished. They've reached the peak because they completed level 5. It's like, yes, I did it. I know when I completed my first path, and I've completed 4 of them, and it's a lot of work. My first path, it was the hardest path to complete. It took me 3 years. I moved on to other paths. I finally finished that one. Yes. Please talk up the Distinguished program in a positive way. You can do it without calling it the Distinguished Club program, because basically what you're talking up is your members' progress. That's what we should be talking up, members' progress. And if you're not moving forward, you're not progressing. And why did they join Toastmasters? To become better speakers? I didn't join to become a leader. Can't help you there. Toastmasters going to do it to you anyway. Just face it. Eventually you'll wake up and realize it, whether you want to be or not. It's your option to take a leadership role, but you're going to become such better communicator with your family. Your relationships are going to be better. And you know how I know that? Because that's what happened to me. Toastmasters has made me the best me that I am today. And I won't stop, because there's still a lot of growth to grow. And there's still a better me out there. And I'm on my Toastmasters journey to find it. Learning is a never-ending life journey for me. And I think we need to encourage our members to do that. Rhonda, thank you for sharing that poll.
And there's your screenshot, Anne.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. Give everybody a round of applause for coming. It's really great.
That's great. And we should also open it up for any questions or comments.
Yep, we have.
Was there anything in the chat, Rhonda? Or
Does anybody think it was a little too hokey? We tried not to make it real hokey. I'm going to be honest. I want to make sure we didn't come off hokey.
We did.
I
loved it.
It was a helpful conversation style. I like that.
Okay. Good. Thank you. That's what we tried to do.
I loved your humor, Anne. You made me laugh a couple of times.
Okay, great.
There was one comment that perhaps maybe you two could address from Nana. For corporate clubs, things are happening a little bit differently. So we always have to acknowledge the difference between corporate, collegiate, and community clubs.
I am a member of a corporate club, 2 corporate clubs, as a matter of fact, from the same company. One I chartered, and one is my original club, and they do operate differently. The one's been, it's ETS Toastmaster. It's been around for a while. It runs like an oil machine. It's just, it struggles like other clubs, but it runs like an oil machine. My other club, Ewing Masters of Toast, is a struggle because those members are from the call center. They have a totally different work schedule. And we've moved our meetings to evening. And even at times that can interfere with their ability to come. I keep plugging away. I'm hoping eventually the message gets through, come to the meeting, come to the meeting. And it is hard. But you keep plugging away. Don't give up. Don't give up. And a lot of corporate clubs have that 1 hour to work with in their meetings during the day. But that makes it even more interesting because the meeting goes faster and everyone has to be on time and it goes by so quick.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what else to say about corporate clubs. I've been in both. I've been in ETS Toastmasters since I joined in 2015. We've had our struggles. Ewing Masters of Toast since 2019. Our membership is down this year. They've let people go. That is a huge concern today for a lot of companies. They're laying people off. People are leaving the club.
The person who asked the question still on, maybe they can give us more clarification of what they're looking for.
Yeah, that was Nana, if Nana is still here.
Yeah, it looks like she's still here. I see her name on the second screen.
All right, not
Rhonda, do you have any thoughts on that?
One of the things that I've helped my club at my company to do was to alternate our meeting days. So it may be the first Tuesday and the third Thursday. So we give different times because we do span multiple time zones across the country. And even still, even when I was club growth director, we had clubs that charter that had alternate meeting days and times to accommodate the kaleidoscope of members and their availabilities so that they could make the commitment. Maybe they couldn't commit to every meeting, but at least one per month. Officers can certainly work on the 6-month schedule or 6-month term, and that's to help lighten the load as opposed to a full year as a club officer. I know that by Toastmaster standards, that's available if you meet very frequently, such as a weekly club. But I think that you have to do whatever's in your best interest as a club to, number one, get the strong, committed leaders in, and to have a sustainable process to roll people in to lead the club so that it doesn't fold after a year or two when people start getting fatigued.
Michelle?
me, Michelle.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a member of a corporate club. I'm a member of several community clubs, but as an area director and a division director, I have interaction with both types of clubs. And I think there are similarities and there are differences. You know, of course, it seems that community clubs tend to have more time involved and more opportunities for speaking where your corporate clubs don't. But when it comes to, and I think that that comment popped up when we were talking about the induction ceremony and the promise and that sort of thing. And those are things you can do at a corporate club also. You can induct members at a corporate club. It only takes a few minutes to read through that script and to get everybody to commit to that. Some of the other ideas that we were throwing around about how to get the idea of those promises out was to just pass out a paper at some of the meetings that has that promise printed on it, or to have it on your sergeant at arms table. There should be, people should be able to see that promise, and also the promises made in the induction ceremony, which reminds every single member of the club that they're also abiding by those promises. That we're actually repeating it back and saying, yes, I'm here to help this new member. I'm here to help my fellow members. And that's what this is all about. We're all about being committed and giving our time to each other and making sure that things run as smoothly as they can possibly run at every club. And even when we're working with our members outside of our club, maybe we're mentoring them. Those are things that are necessary, absolutely necessary, and we should be helping each other as Toastmasters.
And I believe Nana came off of mute. Nana, do you want to comment?
Hi. I just left a comment. So there are, you are right, many similarities and differences as well. Just when I also answered some questions in the beginning, surveys. So we don't really promote that way, like memberships or I don't know, to go through passphrase, etc. Via Facebook or social media. It is happening usually on Yammer posts. Via Yammer posts, we have our community web page there. And usually what we are doing is to communicate to each other because we have right outside of the club communications to each other. And this is happening more naturally. This would be my idea, my comment. So then to promote officially via social media, etc.
Well, do you have an insight? I know when I worked at ETS, they had what they called their internal news page where they put all the,
Yammer. This is
well, we
like
had a
our-
separate page than Yammer. And what we would do is occasionally we would advertise on that homepage because more people went to that home news feed of the company, and we would be able to get prime space to advertise a meeting or so, especially if we were having contests or something. Even virtual, they do it now too. They advertise on that. Everybody struggles with getting meetings, with getting people to sign up for meeting roles. I don't have the magical answer. You just have to keep reaching out to them. And I think it goes back to the communication. These emails are great, but you know what? Pick up the phone, call them, talk to them one-on-one, an occasional phone call, because that's my next step with my One Club. I'm going to start picking up the phone and calling them one-on-one. And sometimes it's harder to turn down an invitation personally than it is to ignore an email and act like you never saw it. Oh, I have so many, because you have to send it to their business email. They don't give you their personal. I have so many emails today, I didn't even see it. Hi, how are you? How's things going? You know, we have this meeting coming up. I really need to fill a role. That's my next step, because I've tried everything, all the suggestions, recommendations, and the reality is it's always going to be a problem. We just have to face it, and we have to deal with it every week for our meetings and just keep plugging away, keep contacting them. But I think if we develop a better communication and staying in touch with our members, because I'm at fault at that, between meetings on a regular basis, I think that might help, because then we will have a true sense of where they are. Yes, Thomas, you're on mute.
No, he's just turning the lights on or something.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and if I can jump in
Yes.
very quickly and offer this suggestion too, is you have to kind of volunteer people, help them get out of their own way. So if people are sitting back, relaxing, and not being very assertive about giving a speech, also suggest a speech out of either the Successful Club series, the Better Speaker series, where Toastmasters gives you a canned presentation. They can just change it and put it into their own words, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to start from a blank slate, and ask, would you mind giving an education topic 5 to 7 minutes on selecting a speech topic, on the gift of an evaluation, or the art of introducing a speaker, or whatever the case may be. That's just to help them get themselves into a speaker role, exercise some skills, provide useful information to your club, and to get evaluated and get credit for that speech. So again, sometimes we can't leave the agenda wide open and say, please take a role. No, ask people to take specific roles, and also align this, as both Michelle and Ann talked about, align this to their goals for joining the club. If they have a big project coming up, or there may be a big audience for them to speak in front of, whether it's at an employee resource group, a civic group, their children's school, whatever the case may be, give them that opportunity to practice it in that safe space, to be evaluated, to perfect it before it's prime time.
I think those are all great ideas, Rhonda. And I see that you may put some great ideas in the chat also. I believe that this is not just a problem that's at corporate clubs, it's also at community clubs. It's every club that has trouble filling roles. And that's part of why we're talking about this, and it keeps coming up over and over again, is because we collectively need to come together and share ideas on how to encourage our members to be more interactive and engaged at our clubs. And that could be a lot of things. And I think the one-on-one is one of the best ways. Pick up the phone and talk to them, tell them what role you need them to fill and have them fill it. Try to get the roles filled at the end of the meeting for the next meeting, or schedule your whole 6 months out and tell people ahead of time what roles they're filling. One last suggestion, and I'm going to give it to Anne to close out the meeting. I think that role roulette is kind of fun. Meeting role roulette. You can have a wheel, or you can have people draw out of the bag. And if you have nobody who's filling those roles at a meeting, they're going to be shocked when they walk through the door and they draw speech out of a bag and they have to give a speech, or speech evaluator. Those are things that can happen. So you make the meeting fun, make it a theme, and you might laugh a little bit through that meeting because you're not ready for those roles, but it's one way to fill those roles if you have no other solution. And I am going to thank everybody for, I thank you, Rhonda, for inviting everybody to speak and for helping us put this together. And Anne, I thank you for inviting me to work with you on this. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. And I can't thank Rhonda enough for the topic that she gave me to do for the presentation, commitment. I think it's a perfect topic for me. I didn't think I went over the top this time. I kept myself in check, but I hope everyone walks away with the main thought that we need to communicate more to our members, that they are volunteers, and the commitment. And I think if we bring that promise to light in that manner, the way Rhonda broke it down, I think we could see a change of attitude when they don't sign up for that meeting role. We can't do this without you. We are all volunteers in this. We've all committed to help one another. I need you to help me. How can you help me? You can't help me this time? What about the next meeting? Can I put you down for the next meeting? Bring in that terminology. Help, volunteer, commitment. You know, there's nothing wrong with saying commitment. It's not like spanking their little butts like we did with our children. We're afraid to say these words, excuse me. We're afraid to say these words. We shouldn't be. Just make it simple and non-threatening. We are all, I'm a volunteer. I'm volunteering to track you down. I'm volunteering to put the agenda together. I can't do it if I don't have your help. I've almost cried in some of my meetings because I could not get anybody to sign up. And it was real. It wasn't an act. That's how much I love Toastmasters. And I started to cry. I said, we're not going to be able to have meetings. I just can't come, and I've done 3 speeches in a row. I can't continue to do that. I need help. They signed up. They don't have to sign up for speeches, but they signed up for roles. And we have to help them get over that fear of doing a speech. And I could go on forever, so I'm going to be quiet. And I want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your time. And I really appreciate you as fellow officers, because I know the walk you are walking, because I do it too. So thank each and every one of you. And a special thanks to the district trio, because they also had training this month. And Rhonda put together some informational slides for me, and it took her time. And she has work too. And we had to realize we're all busy. It's just we have to prioritize and carve time out for what we need. So thank you.
And Michelle, thank you so very much for facilitating. This was such a well-delivered